Hey everybody, it's Thistle and Verse, and today I'm gonna try and change things up a little. I mentioned on Twitter that I'm just kind of slammed with stuff to do right now. It's a lot of deadlines. I feel like I have a lot of videos I want to make, and I'm just like I don't have time for editing. I don't have it in me. I don't have the will. I don't have the energy. And so I'm gonna try just doing lives for some reviews and some wrap ups and to test that out, I'm gonna do one today and see how it goes, see how that feels, because there are some reviews that I didn't really pursue, I just kind of downloaded the arc off of NetGalley or something, and it wasn't like a process, and so I feel okay if it's just kind of something quick I put up, but for some reviews where I actually did solicit the review copy, I do want to have a more, I don't know, I want to have something more polished out. And so if I can make a review live that I feel like is decently polished, then maybe I'll just do this going forward. Also, then I don't have to worry about it taking up storage space on my computer, which is a whole other thing to juggle. Um, so I literally just got off of work. Well, just got home from work 10 or so minutes ago. If you're wondering what the project is that's taking up all of my time, I mentioned it way, way back when, but my cousin is getting married in June, and I wanted to make her a blanket. And here's a piece of it. I have all of these pieces made. I've got all the eyes made. But I had been looking for a color I liked for these bands for ever, and I couldn't find anything. And then someone in Harley the Cerebral Hedonist Discord, I'm blanking on the name, but they recommended I try gold, and I did it, and I love it. And it's good that I have colors that I love for this very important gift, but now it is crunch time. I have to make up 50 of these bands. So that's really just going to take up all my time. I got stuff for work, and so it just kind of is what it is. I don't really have the heart to sit in front of the camera and film and then edit a lot of stuff. Also, the weather's getting nice out. I just want to be outside. I don't want to be in the house on my computer fiddling around with a iMovie. So that's a very long preface to say I'm going to try a live review today. So the book I'm going to be reviewing is Black Star by Eric Anthony Glover, with art by Arielle Joveallanos. So in terms of how I heard about this, it was kind of like a coincidence. So I had reviewed After the Rain, which is a comic book adaptation of On the Road by Nnedi Okorafor, and it was adapted by John Jennings, and the art's by David Brame. And Mr. Jennings had commented on my video thank you for reviewing, yada yada yada. Here's some other stuff coming out from Megascope Comics. And I looked through the lineup and I was like, oh, this is a book that seems interesting. And so that's how I heard about it and decided to pick it up. And basically, it's set on this planet. It's a sci-fi thriller comic book set on this planet of Ilios. Ilios is wild. So the summer gets scorching hot. It's almost from that movie, what was it, Chronicles of Riddick, where the sun comes up and everyone just dies instantly, scorching hot. There's acid rain. It's just a minefield, right? Very hostile to human life. But there's also a mysterious flower on the planet that's supposed to cure cancer. So of course, humans want to go on this hostile planet, and there's a research team that is sent there to get this flower. And basically what happens is that there is a meteor shower while the research ship is sort of close to the planet, and everyone on the ship is killed except for two of the researching members. And there was bad blood between them before, but something happens that I won't tell you. We should read the comic to see what it was. And that just increases the hostility. And during the meteor shower, some of the rescue shuttles were destroyed as well. And so now there's only one rescue shuttle to get off the planet with. And so these two researchers are in a fight to the death to get this mysterious flower and then get the hell off this murder planet. And I was nervous. I was nervous. Um, I looked at the reviews on Goodreads and like, which I'll get into later, but I was looking at the reviews on Goodreads and people are like, "Oh, I didn't understand it. I couldn't be bothered to finish it. 2 stars." There's all these 2-star reviews. And first of all, I learned a valuable lesson. Don't look at Goodreads reviews months before release because at that point, if it's like way far before the release, the only people who have finished the book or who are going to put up reviews are people who couldn't finish the book. It's going to be people who like read like 5 pages and are like, this isn't for me. Let me leave my review on Goodreads and go about my business. Um, because I read the book, I was like, what are these people talking about? This comic was so much fun for me. Um, so I mentioned that, it is a very hostile planet. The competition is cutthroat, and you're just kind of like thrown into the action. And I think the thing that was tripping people up is that the researchers have these like bodysuits that record their actions and that like records like everything that they saw basically. And so each researcher has a different specialty. So one researcher's specialty is survival. They're they're like the outdoors specialists. So they're just like, I'm obviously going to get the flower. I'm going to get off this planet. I'm going to leave you there to die because I'm the outdoor specialist and this is what I trained for. And the other person is like the medical specialist. And she wasn't paying attention during her outdoor lessons. So she's like, oh God, like I'm stuck on this planet and everything is going to kill me. And I don't remember how to stay alive. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Sorry, I was just checking if anyone's in here. No one's in here, but that's fine because I'm having fun. And she's like, oh, my suit has recorded like all these lessons that was supposed to be listening to, but I wasn't. My suit also has an interface to interact with the suits of other people and allow me to see what they have seen in the past. It's password protected, but perhaps with some skullduggery, I could access it. And I think that's what was tripping people up because none of that is like explicitly explained. But also, I didn't think it was too hard to figure out what the person was doing. Um, like it'll show frames. You can kind of see it in the cover, but there are like these frames where you can see it looks like a little window screen and there's like a grainy image in it. And basically, she'll use her suit to like look for clues in the past or like based on what like the other person is doing to figure out what she should be doing or like possibly sabotage the other person. Um, yeah, can you tell I love this comic? It was a lot of fun. Um, and so I think that's what was tripping people up, but because like that's not explained, and some of it is a little roundabout. Like they're not like, oh, I am going to this date to look for this clue. But I think that if you're like familiar with like just putting in passwords on a phone or like stuff like that, it's kind of obvious like what the person's trying to do. And like there was one part where I got a little tripped up where she's looking for an outdoor clue, but like I just read it like a couple times and then I like realized what it was. Um it is very fast paced, so you don't necessarily like want to stop and reread, but like you can if you want to. Um and yeah, I really do not listen to the 2-star scores on Goodreads. Give this comic a read. Um because I want to talk about it with other people. But also, I don't know. I think there's this weird thing where people just view comics as like a stepping stool for like reading, like real reading, like reading a book. And it's like, yeah, like, it's simpler. There's less words, there's more space on the page. It is a good way if you're like someone who doesn't really want to be reading like a bunch of words. It's like a good way to like ease into reading like longer form stuff, but also like comics is an art all of its own. Comics is like a medium all of its own. And there are like things that like you can only do in comics. And yeah, this comic I think just really showed that very well. Like I don't know what a novel adaptation of this would look like. I don't know if it would work. It was gonna be a screenplay for a movie or a show, and then the author, Eric Glover, decided, not to go that route. But I don't know. I think that whole thing of people not getting it just, like, really brought home for me, like, my issues with kinda, like, the talk around comics is just, like, a stepping stone because, like, it's its own thing, and there's, like, its own conventions and stuff associated with reading it, and, like, if you just, like, skim through this, like, you just, like, like, you're gonna miss some of the details in the drawings. Like, comics is primarily visual, so you wanna pay attention to the art and, like, all the stuff in the background details, and especially in this comic because it's a lotta hints for twists and turns. Sorry, my parents were trying to use the pantry. Okay, they're not using the pantry anymore. But, yeah, like, especially with this comic, like, if you would just, like, only read the dialogue, you would miss so much of the story. Um, so if you're gonna read this, go into that knowing that, know that you're gonna need to pay attention to the art as well, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. Um, yeah, but so it does make some parts of the story a little hard to read, like, if you weren't paying attention, but it is just so rewarding, I think when you finally figure out what's going on, there's just, like, this visceral gut punch, because when I tell you these characters are cutthroat, they are cutthroat. Both parties are very devious, they're both very intent on surviving, they're gonna do whatever it takes to gain the upper hand, and I really wasn't able to predict the ending. I had no idea where it was gonna go, I had no idea if I honestly wasn't sure that either of them was gonna make it off the planet. I was so sure they were gonna mess around and both get stuck on that planet, um, because they were just so destructive. Yeah. So, this was, like, a very intense, like, cat and mouse, like, thriller, with, like, little hints throughout of, like, where things are gonna go, and, like, just devious characters. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about the characters. Like, I feel like they're both immoral, but also, like, I really can't fault either one of them really for what they did. Like, if I was in either their places, I really can't say I would have handled the situation any better, been any braver, been any kinder. Um, yeah, so that's it. I really didn't have any critiques of the comic. Really, the only thing I could think of was, like, I kind of to suspend disbelief during some of the fights. Um, 'Cause they're like people are throwing rocks at people's heads, they're throwing wrenches, and I felt like sometimes they were getting, like, kinda unscathed. Like, I remember someone took a rock to the jaw, and I was so sure they were gonna be spitting up teeth, and I don't know what type of high calcium diet they have, but they seemed fine, but, like, that was it. Like, that's literally, like, the only thing. That's because I was looking for a con. I think this comic's a lot of fun, and if you're, like, into sci-fi, um ooh, I didn't realize I was up. So if you're, like, into sci-fi and you're looking for something fun to read, I would definitely recommend it, and, if you have read it, please talk to me about it. I'm really interested in what other people think of it. I really wasn't rooting for anyone. Like I said, I didn't think either of them was gonna get off planet. Um, but if you had predictions or if you were able to guess, I wanna know how you knew. Um, so yeah, that's the review. Thanks for watching. Again, this was a review of Black Star by Eric Anthony Glover with art by Arielle Joveallanos. I received an advance reader's copy in exchange for a fair and honest review. All opinions are my own, and this is going to be out on Tuesday, May 4th, through Microscope Comics. Thanks for watching. Have a good night, everybody. Goodbye.